Look at us, the baptism babes all together again.
I
The
know
triple
we're a special
B's.
group.
Oh no, that's only two B's. What?
I said the triple B's, that there's only two B's in baptism, babe.
No,
And
we're the BBs. Hey, BBs.
We got baptized. When's Easter? April.
I think,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So we
Depends.
all got baptized together this year, and we're the baptism babes.
Baptism babes.
Wait on,
Um,
I was just going to try and find a photo.
Hey, Soph and Jord, can I offer a suggestion for your podcast?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know how on the Real Housewives they all have like their little taglines?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
You both need a tagline.
What would our taglines be? There we
there we
are.
go. That's us in April at Easter being baptized.
The BBs and the minister.
Yeah, in the
BBs
house.
and Rev Greer. What would your tagline be, Jord?
Um, I feel like other people would have to make the tag for the other person.
Yeah, it's like you know how when like athletes or
I've
like
got one.
astronauts and
I've
stuff, you
got
can't
one.
like give yourself your
Yeah,
own
yeah, yeah. But I've
nickname.
got one. I'm
Okay.
queer and I'm here.
I'm queer and I'm here.
Yeah, you like that? You just didn't laugh. Okay, I'll shut up.
The Rainbow Steps podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast, the Awabakal people, and extend that respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We would also like to pay respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples listening and acknowledge the lands you are on today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Our guest this week, Jacq, has a career in social work and engages us in discussions surrounding socially unjust topics. These topics may be upsetting to First Nations peoples, vulnerable persons, survivors of domestic violence and abuse, and those with negative experiences in the social work system. If you or anyone you know needs support surrounding these topics, you can find links to relevant services in the description of this podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Rainbow Steps podcast, where we talk all things faith, life, and trying to follow Jesus through all the chaos. My name is Sophie, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the online coordinator here at Adamstown Uniting Church.
And my name's George. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm an elder here at Adamstown Uniting Church.
And today we are joined by our wonderful friend, Jacq. Hi, Jacq.
Jacq.
Hi, my name's Jacq. My pronouns are she, her. Thanks for having me on the potty. I'm so excited to be here.
Woohoo!
Is this your first pod?
This is my first pod, my debut. Roll out the red carpet.
Wow, we got you first, like before.
Before
Before
she
the
was
SpongeBob
famous.
comes in.
So, Jacq, something big's happening next weekend.
Tell me more, Jordan. What's happening next weekend?
So tomorrow, next weekend we have our like little shindig after church, and it's a meeting where we make decisions and
What's
whatnot.
it even called? Glenn
At
said what it's
AGM,
called.
like
No, he
Nah,
said
it's
it's
not the
not the
AGM.
AGM because the
Anyways,
AGM's like long.
yeah, but it's like all adulty stuff to do with the church. And so my renewal for eldership's up, but the most exciting bit is Jacq is running for council of the church.
Woo!
Hashtag Coke in the bubblers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're putting
Mm-hmm.
in your speech?
Yeah, that's my key priority if elected.
What made you want to join church council?
Well, Glenn just approached me and said someone had nominated me. Props to whoever nominated me. He did not tell me
that's
that.
nice.
So I feel awkward if one person was like, "Oh, should be good on council," and the rest are like, "Should be crap on council."
Yeah.
So sorry if it's a solo nomination. But I just thought it would be a good use of my skill set. I do have some skills in governance. Now my watch is talking to me. And I also just feel like it's a really nice way to give back. People have shown me so much warmth and generosity in my time at Adamstown. So I'm a big believer, as we all are, in reciprocity. So I'm looking forward to what I can bring. I'm also, Malcolm sent me this thing this week in our email exchange that George's a little bit envious of, about the importance of collective action and doing things as a group, and all bringing your skills and talents that are unique to you, but together. You know, it's the whole thing of the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Mm. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited. I really hope, without a doubt, I don't think that anybody will say, no, you can't. But I really hope that you get onto church council, because I think you'd be absolutely wonderful. So,
thank you, Soph. That's really lovely. But if the people say no, that's okay. It is
right.
meant to be.
So the theme this week, I think, is something that we all kind of explored together when we did our Grace Anatomy course before our baptism. But the theme of this week was, who is Jesus? So something that when I first joined the church, I really didn't know how to describe. I feel like it's such an easy thing to describe, but then also like it's so hard as well. So I thought that for this one, I would share my little faith statement, because like obviously everybody's who is Jesus is a little bit different, and I think that it's important to highlight how Jesus shows up in different people's lives. So I'll read that for you. If you'd like to share yours as well, please feel free, but don't feel like you have to. Do you know where yours is, Jacq?
This is my confession time. And apologies to Greer if she ends up listening to this, but I never got so far as to write that down, and I went back to reference that, and then I realised that I actually didn't follow through with the homework, and I thought would have been a good idea to follow through with the homework. So joke's on me. I'm very keen to hear yours, Soph.
All right. Well, feel free to just jump in on the fly if you get any inspo and tell us all these things. So, to me, who is Jesus? Jesus is my bestie. He is the relatable human embodiment of all God's goodness. He is George McFly in 1955 when Marty travels back in time. Jesus is the one who I know I can 100% relate to all my problems. I can talk to my bestie about things I may not be able to talk to my father about. He is the ultimate comfort. I picture him and I can breathe easier. Jesus is that best friend that is like family. He has been with me through every phase of my life, even if I didn't know it. I think about him in all the things I do, like, OMG, Jesus would love this. Jesus waits patiently for me at the dinner table each night for a chat and a debrief. And while he doesn't mind if I miss a meal sometimes, I think back about if he maybe felt sad that I didn't stop to chat with him. Jesus is that friend that even if you haven't seen him in a while, he will still swipe up on your Instagram stories and tell you and send you a message about how proud he is of you and how he hopes to see you soon. Jesus is the one that sits beside me in the car as I sing along to songs about the Father. He is the one that holds my hand over the center console as I cry on my way home on a particularly hard day. He is the one that sits beside me as I lay face down on the floor and wait for it to swallow me up. He doesn't push me to move or get up. He just sits with me and waits till the cloud passes. Jesus is the soft voice that reminds me it's okay to misspeak when praying. He knows the way I speak, and so does our Father, and he knows what I mean in the deepness of my heart. Jesus is the one I hear calling me by name to follow him, to listen to his wisdom, and to live by his example.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Soph. It's funny because my version of Jesus is a combination of other people's versions that I've then built. And one of the things in Grace Anatomy that stuck with me that I've pinched from your version of Jesus is that idea of Jesus being your bestie and Jesus being in the car side by side with you. So I often have that image of Jesus just sitting on in the car side by side and just having a good old talk every day with Jesus. And he's really good at listening.
Mm.
Mm.
What about you,
Beautiful.
Jord?
What about it?
Did you write something?
Who is Jesus to you? The appropriate pod version, please.
Oh, you want me to read mine? Okay, radio. I'll just take out a couple of lines there, because there's a version that was only for that room.
Do you remember that, Jacq?
Yeah, how could you forget?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so definitely don't say that part. So I love Jesus to my core. I can't explain it fully, but I've always loved Jesus, just feared for too long what others would think. But love always wins. Jesus is a best friend and a role model. How I strive to be in the world, how I wish others to be. As all good besties, Jesus listens to my ever-questioning rambles and never judges. Jesus's life encapsulates what it means to be human, to love unconditionally, to be messy, to be broken beyond repair, and in the darkest depths, but holding faith that there will be light somewhere, somehow.
Mm.
Mine was deep.
Yes. But I think it's good. I think, sometimes you have to have the deepness in amongst the lightness and the silliness, because as much as, Jesus knows who we are and our silly personalities and who we are, Jesus also knows like the deep parts of us and the parts of us that we don't always necessarily show everybody. So I think it beautifully encapsulates who Jesus is.
It's an intimate relationship, and it's a funny one because each person has a unique relationship with Jesus. So it's like what someone might say, what you say can be completely different to the person next to them. So yeah, it's interesting. And that's what Greer was talking about today. And yeah, what are we doing? I like the question, how did we declare? What's our testimony? Had you guys thought about that yet?
What do you mean?
Well, she asked, how our testimony, how Jesus has impacted our life.
Oh, you can tell that whenever I'm on slides at church, I literally
you're
don't
super
even
busy.
think.
You had a
I'm
super
like,
busy day.
oh my gosh. Apologies to folks. The sermon this week is going to be, well, you've probably already seen it because you'll be watching this on Thursday, and I would have hopefully uploaded the sermon by Monday. And it's another meditation this week because we've been having tech issues where it's been glitching and whatever. But when I was doing the slides for the Bible reading, there was a flicker and the computer stopped connecting to the screen. So I literally went, oh no, and I like dived under the tech desk.
I'm like, it's back on, and you're like, what? But you unplugged something, left it unplugged, and it worked.
And it came back on, so I don't know. Don't
Only
love
go on for a
technology.
split second. But I have to say, when you're on slides, you've got to be concentrating so much that sometimes you do miss things. Can we go back? Because even though I don't have a written version of who Jesus is, I do have a version of Jesus in my head.
Oh yes, yes, go for it.
I think you're right, Jordan, in terms of Jesus being everyone having an intimate and personal and different version of Jesus. And for me, as I said, some of that stuff is Soph's description of Jesus being our bestie. I also think Jesus, I like to, when I'm having the bestie version of Jesus, I like to think that Jesus has a really good sense of humor. Like he would, he'd be having a good laugh with us all, and I think he would really enjoy our quirks and some of our inappropriate and appropriate jokes at times. But at a bigger level, like I do think of Jesus very much as a brown Palestinian Jew who was a radical and a progressive. And I also think Jesus would be very much endorsing the way that we practice and express our faith, and Jesus would be an ally for the gays and the theys and the queers. I think Jesus was very much someone who agitated and didn't had social justice at the core of everything that he did. So that's the Jesus that I look to, and that's the Jesus that fills my cup, and that's the Jesus that I aspire to practice in my faith journey.
Amen.
I'm really glad you said that, actually, because I feel like people forget that Jesus wasn't white. Like, like you think about it in the context of, the Bible, and then also like how people portray him, and it just doesn't line up. Hey. So I'm really glad that you said that, because I think people forget that core part of who Jesus is, that he was Jewish, and that he probably wasn't white.
He was a
And
carpenter, so his hands would have been
He
rough, but he was a
definitely
worker.
And that's what I think. Like, I always think of this like really rustic, dirty version of Jesus, not this white, clinical, clean version of Jesus. And we've Western colonial Christianity has cleaned up Jesus because we like to reflect our own image in things.
Sorry, Jacq. I like today where Greer was showing us pictures of, different cultures, different countries, and Jesus reflected back these different cultures that have made images of Jesus, and I don't think it's right or wrong, though. I think it's what people just feel more comfortable with.
I don't think it's right or wrong either, but I guess we need to question why this white, clean, inaccurate version of Jesus has taken over the narrative at the expense of what is core to Jesus. And yes, no expression of faith is right or wrong, but I sometimes wonder what Jesus would think about the whitewashed version
100%.
of him. And someone said, we were having a talk at morning tea after about the service, and someone said, oh, it doesn't matter. It's the message, not the man, which is absolutely true. But I do think we need to pay attention and question some of those dominant narratives and how harmful they can be to certain groups in our community, which we all know and we talk openly about in the way that we express our faith.
Absolutely. I want to go back to your question, Jord, about what is it? Your testimony? Is that the word that you use?
Let's just rephrase it. How has Jesus impacted your life, Jacq?
Oh, heavy question.
Big questions today.
That's normally Malcolm's job to ask the heavy questions. Yeah, I think Greer did ask that question she phrased it in terms of what is your testimony, but I like your version, Jord, a little bit differently. No shade on Greer, no shade on the minister.
Do I get 1 star in front of her now? I get a little star.
Absolutely. You get multiple stars, Jord.
Thank you.
And a chocolate.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Greer.
I'm not gonna let this go.
I guess Jesus has impacted my life in terms of at an individual level again, like in terms of standing with me in moments of difficulty and showing unconditional love and support and reminding me to step each day through as it comes. And at a bigger level, I guess Jesus has shaped the way that I practice values of loving others unconditionally and striving towards a socially just and a just and loving and peaceful world. And I think sometimes I get really overwhelmed by that, and I think, well, how can we do that? And I often sometimes wonder how tired was Jesus, because he was shouldering so much. But the Jesus that I talk to reminds me that things are incremental, and we can collectively and incrementally change things. What's your
That's
testimony?
beautiful. Oh.
What's your testimony, Jord?
You have all these, I just want to say, you have all these jokes. You have like, you're a pretty big personality. Like you come in and you're a pretty happy person, and you just have this aura about you. But then once you scratch the surface, you're really deep, you know, and you have the hugest heart ever. And I love watching you um flourish in our community and being able to provide the stuff that's under the surface too. Um, yeah, so that's why I know you're going to be great on the council.
I would say the same about you, Jord. I think you're someone who has lived through some really experiences, and you've spent a lot of time using those experiences to heal and support others as well, who you recognize may have lived through some things. And, you said once you scratch the surface with me, I think one of the things that I noticed and appreciated with you was that you took the time pretty early on to scratch the surface with me and to reach out to me and to show connection, I suppose.
Yeah, I think one of my greatest skills is seeing beyond the facade. You know, we all have these faces and these masks we have every day and we bring to church, and I like to just take them masks off and try and be our most authentic versions of ourselves together, you know. I'm learning through therapy that I like that intimate connection you have with someone when you put their masks away and you have this just pure like connection with someone, because there's all the shit's gone, you know, and there's something that I really like about that. Jesus impacted my life. Well, before Jesus, I like to think Jesus has always been around in my life. From a young age, just maybe um in a different way. I seen it in a different way. I seen Jesus in a different way as this person that had all these rules and requirements of me. And as I've gotten older, I can see that Jesus just loves me as I am. Even my imperfections are loved because that's just how I was created. Um, yeah, before Jesus, I suppose I was really down and out. And over time, that relationship has really helped me become the person I've always dreamt I wanted to be, which is in connection with people, being able to freely love people, and be there for others in tough times. Yeah, a friend that helps me be the version that I want to be. But yeah, impacted. My life's just way better, way better. But yeah, it's just someone that I feel like identify with, and I don't feel as alone. Closely identify, because I've always wanted, like you know, you can walk through life and you think, I'm not going to make a change. Nothing's going to change. Everyone's just everyone, and we all treat each other like crap. So what's the point of trying to be a better person and a kinder person when everything's just crap? But with Jesus, I know that there's hope, and having faith that even putting, your little stone in the ocean and it makes a tiny little ripple, it can start to make a big ripple. So I don't give up hope. Yeah.
Time for a brain break. Pause and go and grab a drink or have a stretch. The episode will resume shortly.
What about you, Soph?
Oh, good question. I have a bit of a hard time like articulating the impact that Jesus has had on my life, because part of me is like, I don't know, and then part of me is like, no, you do know. Because like my journey with Jesus has, I feel like you, Jord, that Jesus has always been with me in some form. I was extremely interested in scripture at school, and I absolutely like loved scripture. I loved learning all about the Bible and Jesus and all of these stories. And when I got to high school, I kind of had a moment where I was like, oh, no, I had I had a rebellious phase, and I used the
What do you
phrase
call lesbian?
rebellious very loosely, because look at me, how rebellious can you get? Um, but I kind of found my way back to Jesus in adulthood, because I think I became very influenced by well, I want to follow Jesus, but I truly don't believe that Jesus is this person that has all these rules and is going to judge me for being myself, and because I came out as a lesbian when I was 13. And so part of that was like, oh, well, I can't be a Christian because I'm queer. And that was really like the thing that was in the forefront of my mind. And then, as I got older, I kind of, began to form my own opinions about faith a little bit more, and the idea that, well, I don't have to necessarily subscribe to anybody else's idea of who Jesus is and what faith should be. And then I was just really lucky that I tried a church and landed first go at Adamstown, because I've never ever felt like I couldn't be myself there. And I see Jesus in all of the people at Adamstown. I think that Jesus is in the community, because I think I really needed that kind of community. My family, we very much kind of keep to ourselves, and we don't really like to rely on anybody else or lean on anybody else. So when I was growing up, I think I kind of missed out on that community kind of thing. So if anything, Jesus has brought me to all these wonderful people who get me and understand me, and I feel like it's made me feel so much better, so much more supported. But also, I also feel that having faith in Jesus has kind of just pepped me up a little bit. I kind of have been thinking, especially over the last couple of weeks, the phrase there's no luck, it's just Jesus has been like in my mind, because I've just finished up my 5 weeks of my early childhood placement, and I'm going to be heading into 4 weeks in my primary school placement. And the last day that I had at my placement site, I host music bingo on Friday nights. And I usually go like straight from my placement site to bingo, because it's like right around the corner. And I was thinking during that day, oh, I wish I called out, I really just want to be at home with Luce, and let's have a bit of a celebration. Let's have like a nice, calm night. And I literally checked my phone at the end of the day, and the big wigs of the trivia company had said, hey, actually the venue has just rung, and they said that they were supposed to have a function next week on Friday, but they've actually decided that they're going to move it tonight. So you've got tonight off, and you're going to and work next week instead. And it's just little things like that, It's sometimes when you don't really think about it, you're like, oh, that's lucky. But the phrase like there's no luck, it's just Jesus having my back, like that's just been in my mind for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think that's the way that Jesus has impacted me, given me a bit more of a positive way of looking at things, and make me feel like somebody like with this wonderful community, even though they wouldn't, but even if nobody else had my back, that Jesus would always have my back, kind of thing.
It's like someone in your corner.
There's my very long-winded answer.
No, it's someone in your corner, like you're in a boxing ring, and that's how life feels sometimes. But you've got Jesus behind you.
That's
ready
right.
for an uppercut.
No, Jesus believed in non-violent resistance, George.
It's 2026. He'd be all right with a bit of an uppercut, I reckon. If
No.
push come to shove.
Honestly, that's really interesting to think about. I do often think about like if Jesus were alive today, like what would he be like? Do you
I
reckon?
there's this really beautiful song that Malcolm told me about a few weeks ago. Malcolm in all of his wisdom. And I referenced it before when I was talking about what I believe Jesus. I can't remember if it was what I believe Jesus is or how he has helped me. And the song is called One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus. It's a beautiful song. Go and listen to it if you haven't. But one of the things that one of the words or the phrases from the song is, do you remember when you walked among men? And then he says, well, because if you know from back then, you kind of wouldn't believe, if you're looking below, you wouldn't believe the amount of violence and abuse that you'd see today. And this song is not a contemporary song. It's from a couple of decades ago. So sometimes I just think Jesus would be weeping and Jesus would be grieving and Jesus would be really sad about the violence and the oppression, particularly in the Middle East, or what we call the Middle East. And that's something that I think of quite a bit. Like, what would that mean for Jesus? So I don't know if that answers the question, but I sometimes just think and that song, I can't remember the exact line from the song. It was much nicely worded than that, but it's basically like if Jesus was looking down, he'd be pretty shocked it wasn't a 2026 world, but it captured what I often think about in terms of, what Jesus would understand.
I think he'd be devastated, Jacq. Yeah.
It's like a thing of like almost history repeating itself because you see like all of the things that, Jesus encountered and, especially with all the oppression and the hatred that he experienced and worked so hard to kind of help people through. The fact that we're in a world now where it's almost, it's just like history repeating itself, which is sad. And don't you think we would have learned by now? But yeah.
Humans, yeah. You go, Jacq. You're smarter than me.
No, we're all as smart as each other. We all bring different perspectives and different words, but none of us is as smart as all of us together.
Yes, true. Oh, see, you just proven it then. That was beautiful.
What I was going to say is because the other thing that I sometimes worry about is, would Jesus also be upset and disappointed about some of the actions that people take in his name that perpetrate violence and oppression to particular community groups? But I hold that at the same time as holding, well, I think Jesus would sit beside us as we practice our faith in Adamstown Uniting, and I know that there's so many other progressive churches and groups in our community that align with Jesus's practices and that affect change as well. So that's what I have to hold when I get worried about what Jesus would be looking down on in 2026 and what would he be thinking.
Lots to think about.
I'm just sitting here and I'm just wondering, Jacq, how you have such a heart and you have a heart for the little guy or the little person, and how did you come to be like that? Is there anything you'd like to share on how you became that type of person? Do you reckon you were born like that, or there's experiences you've experienced where you're like, hey, I want the world to be a different place.
All of the above, Jord. I think, some of those characteristics you're born with. My mum very much, it was really important to her that her daughters in particular were understood the way that the world operated, and that the world didn't operate in a way that was necessarily fair for everyone, and that we have a responsibility as people who have some level of privilege to contribute to change in our society. And then you both know that I'm a social worker, and in that work you see some really, really crappy things, and you see some really systems. And I think the longer I've done that work, the more determined I've become to agitate systems and speak out. I think also the older you get, the more confident you become to be really vocal, and to use your language, George, like fight for the little person. And I don't think anyone in our community is a little person, because I think people, I know, but I know what you mean.
I should find a better term, but the disadvantaged or the vulnerable person.
Yeah. And I think the way that I understand that is, again, that systems and structures make people vulnerable. People very much resist and survive those systems. And it's about, I guess, me particularly as a white person, calling out those systems that I hold privilege in, to say, hey, this system doesn't serve lots and lots of people in our community.
You're amazing.
I think we're all amazing, Jordan.
Yeah.
We all come with different things. But I feel privileged, because that's what I've also learnt and experienced in my career. And sadly, I've experienced that because I've seen people having to endure and fight through those systems and survive those systems. And you can't walk away from that without feeling a sense of responsibility to call out those systems, particularly around, like, not to make this too heavy, but particularly for First Nations community members, particularly for families and children with child protection involvement, particularly for the victim survivors of domestic and family violence. I think, if you sit, and the complexity can sometimes be when you're working in that system, you're part of a system, again, that isn't operating in the way that it's meant to operate. Sorry, we're kind of deviating a little bit here from...
No, that's fine. It's interesting, and I like hearing what you've got to say. And as someone that has been in that system, I feel extremely positive. Well, not positive, but I feel better that someone like you is in this system and trying to make it a better place and trying to do the right thing.
Jordan, and that's the thing, like, again, like, if you can see the people who are connected to and practice out the values that are similar to yours, and do that in a way that might be different to you, then together there is a lot of hope.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's important to think as well, because obviously you both have such a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge with these specific systems. But for somebody like me who kind of grew up a little bit more sheltered, a little bit more bubble wrapped, I think that it's really important to continue to walk in a way that Jesus would have, because, like, you don't know what somebody has been through. You don't know somebody's experience. So why should you be judging somebody? You really never know what has been going on in their life. So I think that it's really important to just be kind and educate yourself. Take that upon yourself to, you say, well, I didn't know that this was happening, or I don't know much about this. Educate yourself and walk in kindness, because I think that that's the first step.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we do that well at the church. Like, I don't know, like, I know, so I finished school in year 8. And so I don't know a lot of the big words that sometimes people use, like Greer and Jacq. I can get general gist of what the person's trying to think. So it can be a little intimidating when Jacq's like saying some pretty big words. I'm not stupid, and I can generally understand what the person's saying, but at Adamstown, that doesn't matter. Like, you're still valued as a human being, and we're all, like Jacq has said a couple of times, we're all equal. And no matter our background, we're all a team, we're all a little community or family, and we're all valued. And that's how the world should be.
Mm.
Yeah, and John, you referenced before about your skill set, and one of your strengths is in unmasking people and supporting people to become exactly as they are. And I think, yes, you do that so beautifully and so authentically, because you just come as your unmasked and authentic self, and you just call shit out without the way that it is.
Because like I haven't spent a lot of time in community, so I don't like, because I've spent a majority of my life like either on the streets, in mental hospitals, or generally just being on my own. So I've never really been in community, so I don't really, I'm like a raw like version of a human sometimes. Like this, I don't have years in, like I'm 35 this year, and I don't have 35 years experience of being in community. So I haven't gathered all the things that someone for 35 years would gather. So I'm pretty much just a really authentic version of what, it's actually a good thing. You'd think it's a negative thing, but you could put a positive spin on it that I come with these skills because of that, you know? The past is the past, you know, so you got to make a positive, try and make positive out of it, you know.
Also kind of depends on how you define community as well. Like, I would say that the things you described are still community.
Just you got a good point there. They're forms of community, but I don't know if they're the type of community that uplift you and veer you forward to the best version of yourself at times. Because I can't say mental hospitals or being homeless really adapted me or filled my cup up. They were just necessities at the time, on survival. But I definitely don't regret it, or wish things were different or anything like that. I've just come to a place where it is that's what it is, and these experiences have shaped who I am, and it's okay. We've all got. I'm happy for Soph that had a relatively good childhood and was bubbled up, but I'm happy for you where your mum taught you all these things, and we've all got these unique stories, and I don't think one's more valued than the other. They're just different. But they're all good, you know, because we're here today and we're alive. And we got out of bed today and we went to church this morning, and it was, you know, Rev Greer gave an amazing sermon, and we all got together and had a chat, and it's been a great day. The sun's out, you know, you can't complain.
That's a really nice positive note, I feel, to end on. So let's wrap it up.
Wrap
it up. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We really appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for all of the love. I've forgotten how to do my outro now. It's been so long. If you want to connect with us,
subscribe,
like, share, we always say
TikTok, Vimeo.
No, don't say Vimeo. Why are you directing people to the Vimeo? Don't go to the Vimeo.
Oh, okay. I've been saying that for like 3 weeks.
No, there's nothing on the Vimeo. That's where I edit all of the stuff. There's nothing interesting on there. If you want the clean, polished version.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
There you go. And please please follow us here on Spotify. It really does help welcome everybody into our little corner of the internet that we love so much. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Have a blessed week, and we will see you all next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.